course, my camera would cut off because I had to delete some videos. Anyways, so yeah, this is gonna be part 2 because I'm not doing this again. I'm in the moment right now. So everything started like around when I was a teenager, and I'm pretty sure this is a lot of people's story when it comes to their mother or their parents. But anyway, so I'm getting there, right? So basically, in high school, right? I mean, I wasn't like a terror at all. I mean, you got girls out here that was, wilding out and doing all this crazy stuff now. I have done some shit. I got caught sneaking out the house, and I got caught having sex in the house with my boyfriend. Not by my mother, my father actually caught me. But, I've definitely done my fair share of shit. But I feel like a lot of teenagers do, right? I feel like a lot of teenagers do. And so what I'm trying to say to you all is that, I was the typical teenage girl. I was a typical sheltered, okay, teenage girl who was sheltered and went to a public school. I was cute in high school, boys liked me. I was into boys, and again, I was sheltered. So, I rebelled against my parents because they wouldn't let me do a lot of things that I thought that I wanted to do, but I wasn't ready. So I respect my parents, and I completely understand, why they restricted me from doing certain things. But at the time when I was a teenager, I didn't understand it, right? That's just typical, right? So here I am now, 34 years old, and I'm still having issues. Wow. I am still having issues with my mother. So why is that? Why am I still having issues with my mother? So one thing that I will say is that there's a lot going on around here. Oh, no. One thing that I will say that I feel like there's a disconnect is because of the adoption. I've always felt a disconnect from my mother because of the adoption. And, I have had the conversation with my mother because a lot of times I feel like I can't talk to her about stuff because she just doesn't relate. And because she is, very old school. I just feel like, a lot of times she doesn't try to understand my concept or where I'm coming from. And it may even be that, she can't understand herself. But, my mother, she came from a large family. Mind you, I'm the only child. My mother is one of 7. She is number 6 of 7. So she is, basically the youngest. Now she's the youngest because my uncle passed, but now she's the youngest. And sometimes, we don't get along. We don't see eye to eye at all. I'm yin, she's yang. There's definitely a polarity when it comes to me and her. And, even to this day, we can never really sit down and talk about anything like that because, my mother, she always wants to be right. And she doesn't want to grasp the concept of me being an adult. And, now I have my own mind. I'm not going to just listen to everything that you say. I'm going to have an opinion. And, the old school people, they think that that's disrespectful. And it's not disrespectful because the Black community teaches us not to speak in our truth. The Black community teaches us to be quiet, that kids should just be silent. Kids should be seen, not heard, right? That's what the Black community teaches. That's what we tell our kids, right? I don't tell my daughter that. But, that's what a lot of Black people did growing up. They shun the child. The child has no say-so whatsoever, even if it comes to, like, the child's feelings and the child wants to express it, him or herself. The Black community never does that. And I even noticed that, a lot of Black communities, a lot of Black people, families, we don't talk about our feelings, right? We don't talk about how we feel. about certain situations. When my mother and my father, when they argued, my mother would just go upstairs and just lock her door and not talk about it. Like, I never saw them actually sit down and work out an argument that they were having. I never saw them like sit down and talk about feelings and things like that. You know, yeah, so it's just like, I noticed that I started to do that. I noticed that I started to just fly up out of situations. I would run when situations got tough, especially in like my relationships with men, things like that. As I got older, obviously, you know, it was hard for me to communicate in relationships because of the fact of my upbringing, because I saw it. My parents were an example of how I would act in a relationship. And I don't think that we really, as parents, think about what we are doing to our children, what we are doing as far as damage is concerned when our kids don't see healthy relationships, when they don't see two adults expressing how they feel towards each other. I don't see that happening for a lot of us, and we got to start breaking. This is it's a generational curse. There's so many different types of generational curses, and when we talk about generational curses, we don't mean necessarily like a witch cursing a generation. I'm talking about like repeated behaviors that no longer serve us. Okay, for example, all right, the mother didn't have her father around, the daughter didn't have her father around because the mother didn't have her father around, so therefore it's a generational curse, and so on and so forth. It keeps on going. It keeps on going. You know what I mean? And before you know it, you don't know who the child's father is. The father don't know who the child's father is, and so on and so forth. It's a generational curse. That's what I mean by generational curse. Weight issues, okay? Mothers who are overweight, and then they have children who are overweight, and then their children are overweight, and so on and so forth. It's a generational curse, all right? And this can happen with emotions on an emotional level, all right? Generational curses on an emotional level. It is very, very real, you guys. So, you know, my father, he was always like the laid back guy. He never really got into confrontations, but you know, my mother would a lot of times talk to him like he wasn't shit. You know, she would just try to, you know, overturn him, control him, talk to him on any type of way, especially the last few years that, you know, my father was sick. You know, she would talk to him a lot of times like, you know, he was lower than her. And whether or not she thought that it was the way to do it in order to motivate him, it really broke down his spirit. And, you know, I saw that. And, you know, I wanted my father to be stronger and do better, for himself to get better. But I also knew that my father didn't have a lot of time left. And I knew that he was done. You know, he lived a great life. My father was in the Army. He retired, Master Sergeant, age 16. Went on to work for civilian for the government for another 25 years, I believe it was. So my father did, you know, well over 30 years in service for the government. Now, you know, those old school parents, they want us to follow in their footsteps, right? They want us to be the type of person that they were. That wasn't me. You know, I'm a very creative, I'm a very artistic person. And, you know, my mother and my father, they wanted me to go into computer science and do all these things. Like, I didn't want to do no boring-ass career. I didn't. I'm a different breed. And I think that because of that adoption piece, like, you know, you can raise a child emotionally, but genetically, on a microorganism, on a micro scale, when you're looking at blood type to blood type, you're looking at genetics to genetics. I didn't have the same genetic makeup as my parents. So therefore, my thought process, even though they raised me, you know, who you are is your genetics. Who you are is where you come from on a lineage scale, okay? My lineage is different from your lineage. My lineage is not your lineage. My blood lineage is not your blood lineage. So you have to remember, right, when you're looking at these type of relationships, when you're talking about adoption, the emotional connection can be there, but sometimes that true, like, nature, that true mother nature connection is not there. And I truly, earnestly believe in my heart of hearts that that is the reason why me and my mother cannot connect on a genetic DNA level. Now, I understand that there are people out here that don't connect with their parents, even if they're on a DNA genetic level. And a lot of times that has to do with the parents' dysfunction. And my message today is basically, once you start to heal yourself from what your mother and your parents put you through, especially your mother, and I'm talking to my women today, I'm talking to my ladies, even my brothers today, because your mother is your God. Your mother is your God first before you know of any other God. That is your God. She is the one that you look up to. She's the provider. She's the one that carried you. She's the one that had you. She's the one that fed you. She's the one that nurtured you, that was there when you cried, that clothed you, bathed you, everything. If it wasn't for your mother, your survival would be next to nothing, okay? So with that being said, I didn't have that connection that me and my daughter have. And I really feel like a lot of times that my mother is jealous of the connection that I have with my daughter. And I'm just being completely, and this is ego aside, I'm not trying to be all, big, bad, and fancy right now. I'm just speaking on facts right now. I really, truly believe that a lot of times my mother is jealous because of the relationship that I have with my daughter. Because I'm very loving with my daughter. I'm very close with my daughter. I'm always kissing on my daughter. We do everything together, me and Kennedy. Like, that is my freaking heart. And that's because I had her from the womb. I had her from the start, okay? And, sometimes that jealousy will boil. My mother wasn't able to have children. And, I always wondered, like, what she would feel if, when she adopted a daughter, that if she would understand that her daughter may have the possibility of having children and she didn't. How would you feel about that? You know what I mean? Like, would you be jealous? Would you resent your daughter because she was able to have children and you weren't? You know what I mean? Like, these are things that I think about. And, I know that, like, a lot of people talk about how the mothers are daughter because they're jealous of their daughter's beauty, of their success, of their, basically they're jealous of their daughter because their daughter is not afraid to do things that she was afraid to do, right? I'm not afraid to step out of the box and pursue what I really love. Maybe my mother wanted to pursue something that she really loved and maybe her parents wouldn't let her, or maybe she wasn't able to. You know what I mean? Maybe she wasn't afforded the ability or opportunity to. And, once we heal ourselves and we start to mend the subconscious truths and layers, then we are able to then heal our mothers as well on an indirect scale. Because now, we understand and we know how to deal with our mothers and their ways up front. And a lot of times our parents are our number one dream killers. When I was in high school, I remember specifically, sorry y'all, I remember specifically that I wanted to be in cosmetology. I wanted to do something creative. You guys know I do makeup. I'm sorry, y'all, my allergies, they're killing me. But I wanted to be in cosmetology. And my mother said to me, that I will not make any money being a beautician. That's what she told me. You're not going to make any money doing hair. Look at the fucking hair business now. Look at $1 million plus industry. And you sat there and told me that I couldn't be a beautician because that's not what you wanted me to be. You wanted me to go into the government. You wanted me to go into the office. You wanted me to go to college. I didn't want to go to college. I wanted to go to a design school or go to cosmetology school, get my cosmetologist license, to do hair, makeup, everything that I'm doing now. That's what I wanted to do. All right. And a lot of my resentment and my anger comes from the fact that I did everything that my parents wanted me to do, and it still was not fucking good at all. Okay? I worked in the offices. I went to college. I went and got my master's. Not went and got my master's, but I went to school to pursue my master's. Okay? So, you know, at the end of the day, it kind of fucks with my mind on a daily basis. You know, because I did everything that you wanted me to do and it still wasn't good enough. It still wasn't fucking good enough because you want me to live through your dreams. You want me to live through your fantasies. You want me to live through you. And I'm not here to live through you. I'm here to live for myself. Okay? I tell Kennedy all the time, you know, Kennedy, you don't have to go to college, but you need to make sure that you have a plan that's going to make you successful, that's going to make you be able to navigate through this world in order to be successful. I'm not going to force my child to go to college. I'm just not. College is not for everyone, and college is honestly some bullshit when it comes down to it. Institutionalized education. I have a completely different outlook on things, especially since I've become, you know, this awakened spirit. And, you know, a lot of shit is institutionalized. A lot of things are out here just to get our money. Like, you know, my parents paid over $80,000 for me to go to college, to a private university in Charlotte, North Carolina called Johnson C. Smith University, which was some fucking trash, okay? For $80, you know, it was fucking palmetto bugs or big ass water bug cockroaches looking things crawling through the bathrooms. You know, the showers and the towels were molded, and you know, it was just like disgusting. For $80,000, dog, like I should have been living in a fucking pimped out castle somewhere, okay? But anyways, I just feel like sometimes, you know, my mother doesn't try to understand who I am as a person, as an adult person. She wants to keep me as a child, and I get that. You know, I have a child, so I understand the growing pains of seeing your child grow up. But now I'm 34 years old. You know, I've been on my own for a very long time. And things didn't really get strained until I moved back home. And me and my daughter's father broke up. And I moved back home. I moved back in to my parents' house. I'm still, you know, here with my mother to this day. I ended up staying a little bit longer just because I didn't want her to be lonely, right? After my father passed, my cousin was like, you got to stay for at least 3 years. Now, it's been 3 years, and, you know, now that I am pursuing my business and I'm really starting to go into business for myself, right now is not the time for me to move. So I'm looking at staying here for another few years, and like the strain on our relationship is just crazy. But anyways, you know, I just wanted to really share my testimony with you all about my mother and about, you know, I know that I'm not the only one. A lot of us struggle with relationships with our mother. I was watching Iyanla Vincent, and she recently had the Kamaya Mosley story. Mobley, I think it is. Kamaya Mobley story on Saturday. And it was talking about, you know, the girl who was kidnapped at birth, and, you know, this lady raised her, and then, you know, her birth mother came back into life. The birth mother didn't even show up for the show, but the birth mother was the one that wanted them to go on the show, but she didn't show up for her daughter. But the father and the stepmother and the boyfriend showed up, right? So it just got me really like thinking about our connections with our mothers, and the fact that a lot of our mothers are broken. Just like a lot of us are broken, our mothers are broken, and it's a generational curse. It's a generational cycle that happens. And if you continue to feed into your generational curse by way of your mother, then all you're going to do is pass that shit on to your kids. Do you want your kids to be miserable like you are? Do you want your kids to be conflicted like you are? Do you want your kids to be confused like you are? I remember so many situations that I put my parents through. Sneaking out the house, getting caught having sex. I was like 16 then. Telling my parents that I was gay in high school, and I liked girls. And my father catching me kissing a girl in the hallway. Like, my father, he caught me doing everything. It's just crazy shit. But, at the end of the day, like, again, I mean, I wasn't out here selling drugs or anything. I wasn't out here in the streets, like, fucking every dude that I saw. I wasn't, like, sneaking out the house for all crazy times. Like, I did my little fair share of things here and there. And, I always know that there is worse situations that somebody is going through as far as with their family. I mean, I grew up very well. I had a house. Again, I was the only child. My parents made buku money a piece. But that doesn't mean that you're happy. Money doesn't bring happiness. And I've learned that over the years, that money doesn't make you happy. What makes you happy is living in your truth. Living for what you want, living for who you want to be and who you want to become, or who you are becoming. That is what's going to make you happy. Going after your passions is what is going to make us or you happy. That's really all that I can say. And healing yourself through the pain that your parents or your mother or your father or whoever you were raised by put you through, because they wanted you to live through them. You cannot live through your parents. You are your own entity. You are your own identity. You are your own mark in this universe. You are your own seed. You are your own. You are who you are. You are not who your parents are. So don't think for 1 second that you have to be who your parents want you to believe. Just like, the father's a cop, the son's a cop, the son's a cop, da-da-da-da-da. It's like, did you really want to be a cop, bruh? Or are you just going after what your father wanted you to do? Like, we gotta stop following in people's footsteps. We gotta stop being followers and being leaders, right? That's how things are created. That's how lifestyles are created. That's how tangible items and things and thoughts are created, because we go against the grain and we do what we feel is right for us at the time. Okay. On another tip, I told my mother that I was no longer a Christian. I am no longer practicing Christianity. Yeah. What does this mean? She was very upset. Obviously, she didn't want to hear anything about, what I was doing. She didn't even want to know, like, the things I was practicing. And I understand that. But, these old school parents, these elders, they're so, like, out of whack. They're so just generationally dysfunctional. They don't want to move with the times. They don't want to open up their minds. They don't want to open up their thought process. They don't want to see things for what they truly are. They just want to continue to live in their bubble, and that's fine. Keep living in your bubble. It's not going to kill you. It's not at all. But it's going to be hard on a relational level to relate to your parents or to the elders. It's going to be very hard, especially when they don't want to hit the fast forward button just a little bit in order to catch up with us. So I hope that this video finds you with some confirmation. I hope that it will help you to get on the ball to healing yourself, healing your mother through healing yourself, healing your parents through healing yourself. Because that's the only way that we're going to be able to heal, our parents is to heal ourselves, so that we're no longer broken in order to continue to feed that fire, right? I had a big argument with my mother the other day, Tuesday. I was about 5 minutes late to picking up my daughter and from her after school program. But at the time, my phone was off. So, you know, she was worried about getting in touch with me and all this good stuff. And I mean, of course, I ended up picking up my daughter or whatever. And, you know, I was like 5 minutes late for picking up my daughter. Maybe 5 to 7 minutes late, somewhere around there. I was in traffic coming from a meeting. And my phone was off. My phone was actually cut off that day, and I was going to go cut it back on, because I had just gotten the money together to do it. And you know, my mother, she blew up on me, and you know, a lot of times I feel like my mother speaks to me and talks to me like I'm a child, and it's very disrespectful to me, because I'm like, I'm not a fucking child. I am raising a damn near 9-year-old, and you want to talk to me like I'm a fucking child. Like, you know, it's just, sometimes I sit back and I'm just like, I'm too old for this shit. I'm too old for this shit. You know, I really try to ignore the things that go on around me when it comes to her, because she can be very negative. And, you know, she, like, I always try to engage in relationship with my mother. Like, I always, you know, be like, oh, Mom, let's go out and eat. Let's go do this and let's go do that. And she always says, no, I'm good. No, I don't want to do it. And I'm just like, all right, like, I'm done. Like, don't come to me complaining that, you know, we don't do anything together when I always try to get you to go out with me and you don't want to go. Like, I'm not going to feed your pity party. I'm not going to feed your energy when you feel like it. Like, I'm not doing that shit. And my mother is an Aries, so, you know, she's very intuitional. She has a very high intuitive state. So, you know, she can sense things very easily, honestly. But, and I don't give a fuck, you know what I mean? Like, it's whatever. But, you know, at the end of the day, like, you know, I have to live for me, and, you know, I cannot just feel like I gotta tiptoe around you all the time to make you feel comfortable. You know what I mean? Like, that's just, that's a bunch of bullshit to me. So, you know, I continue just to do what I do. And, you know, everything is going to be okay. Everything is going to work out for the better. Everything happens in its own divine timing, in its own situational timing. You know, and I'm manifesting moving and getting up out of here, getting up out of this house. And, you know, just having a space for me and Kennedy, a healthy space for me and Kennedy, because a lot of the things that my mother did to me, she's doing to my daughter as well. And actually, you know, talking to her nasty. You know, my mother has very nasty ways. You know, she gets in her little moods, and she is nasty as fuck sometimes. And it's really, like, discouraging. That's one of the reasons why I came out of my job, because my daughter wasn't getting the things that she needed from my mother. You know, they were doing homework all half-assed. If my mother didn't understand something, she would just whatever, you know, like, and it's, I appreciate her helping. I do. I don't want you guys to think that I don't appreciate it, but, you know, a lot of times, you know, I just feel like, you know, I just feel like she was just over it. And, you know, I can't expect her to, not that she was raising my daughter, but, you know, I was working, and I was working later at night. Sometimes I was working in retail, so, you know, my schedule was up and down. My mother was maybe watching my daughter a few hours. My daughter was going to daycare, so I was paying for daycare. But, you know, my mother would watch my daughter for maybe a couple hours in the evening, and then she would watch her weekends. And I did feel like that was a lot on her. And, you know, I was looking for alternative ways to try and work retail, but also not have a strain on my mother as far as watching Kennedy is concerned. Now, Kennedy is very self-sufficient, so a lot of times my mother would just be exaggerating, because my Kennedy can do a lot of things on her own. But, you know, my mother wanted to be so helpful and to baby her, so that's on her. You know, that's what she wanted to do. So it is what it is. But, you know, I have a great deal of respect for my mother, as I know that a lot of us do. We have respect for our mother. I respect you because, you know, you raised me. I respect you because you sacrificed for me. I respect you because you adopted me. You chose me out of, you know, however many little girls and boys that were in that adoption agency. You chose me. You gave me a second chance at life. You gave me a better life than I probably would have had, with my birth parents. And it just goes to show, like, people can really step up in this lifetime and provide for a child that isn't even theirs by birth. I don't know if I could do that. I don't know if I could. I mean, I know that I could, but I know that it would be hard. You know what I mean? Like, I know that it would be hard for me because, you have to tell. It's not like I had this awakening of, like, knowing that I was adopted. Like, I always knew that I was adopted. My parents, they always incorporate that into my learning, was that I was adopted. But, this day and age, adopting these kids, this day and age is just different. I was adopted in '84, so it was a big difference back in the '80s. I will say that. But yeah, you guys, I just wanted to just ramble and get some things out about how I was feeling about, my parental relationship, because I know that there is a lot of y'all out here that is struggling with your relationship with your mother or your father or both. I'm not the only one. And sometimes you just need to know that you're not the only one. Sometimes you need to be comforted and to know that, I am not the only person dealing with this bullshit ass situation. There's actually people out here that are actually dealing with what I'm dealing with. And that is part of the first process of healing, right? Is knowing that you're not alone, that there's other people that have been through this shit, and there's other people that are going through it, and there's other people that will go through it, okay? So you're not alone. You're not alone at all. And it is possible to heal and mend the relationship. We just got to start doing the shadow work in order to heal ourselves first. And once we heal ourselves first, then that is when we heal everyone after us and everyone around us. So I'll leave you with those words. Kindly. I love you guys so much. Thanks for watching. And I'll catch you